What is Forró? An introduction, the music, the dance, the culture, the party, the history. These are some of the topics that we talked in this podcast. I was a guest of Elisabetta in her podcast for her YouTube channel related to tango. She's a dancer, an instructor, and an influencer. We had a very interesting conversation about similarities and differences between these two different cultures, these two dance styles from South America, tango and forró.
This very mysterious dance to me. I don't think I've heard much about this dance before we started chatting. Forró, I think I've seen it spelled and I've always thought, oh, it's Forró or something. Mm-hmm. like a grain or a bean that you eat or something. Like that's the question. So I thought we would start our conversation with giving our listeners a little bit of a primer of what this dance is and maybe some of the history of it that we should know.
Wonderful. Very happy to be talking to you. I found your channel on YouTube and say, like, that's so interesting. We need to get in contact. I'm so happy we are making this happen. So, introduction to Forró. Forró is a Brazilian style, a Brazilian dance, and a Brazilian rhythm. So people say that is a word that's used for different things. The genre is from the Northeastern Brazil, and usually is played mostly during a certain time of the year. They have specific times, usually are the June parties, Festas Juninas, parties from June. And they have this very specific instrumentation, which is not used in any other style. We have the accordion, which has a similarity to tango, the similar sonority. But then we have two percussion instruments that are very unusual. One is the triangle, like the classical triangle, but instead of, as we use in classical music, just to punctuate little things here and there, the triangle is the instrument that rides all the subdivisions of the tingelingy, 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 tingelingy. And then we have a bass drum, which is somehow similar to what you see in a marching band, also similar to what you see in Bulgarian music. In Bulgarian music would be a tapan, which is like a bass drum, like round like this, kind of thin. And in one side you have like a large stick, and another side you have a very thin stick. So you have the sound of the dum, 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 dum in one side, and the other side you have a little stick though, chack, 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 chack. So you have the percussion, tingelingy, tingelingy, dingy, dum, chum, chum, dum, chum, chum, dum, chum, chum, dum, and the accordion giving the harmony on top. So it's a very specific and very different instrumentation compared to any other style. Wow. So this is the music.
And if I could just pause you for a second there, when did this tradition of this music start? Like what years are we talking?
It's younger than tango. It's younger than tango. I would say for as we know now, there is one figure, one artist. His name is Luis Gonzaga, and he's called the father of Baião, like the king of Baião, which is one of the beats of forró. And he's a figure who got forró known Brazil, entire Brazil, because it was a very regional thing before, and then you got entire Brazil hearing, listening to forró. And this was in the mid of last century.
Gotcha.
So 40s,
wow.
50s, 60s. So like during the golden age of radio transitioning to TV. So this is the time where the style originated.
Is it known like why this style emerged?
I don't know exactly the origins. The overall structure of the origins is very similar to other styles in Brazil. One of the most well-known is samba, which is from Rio de Janeiro. Many people associate to Brazilian music, carnival, and all that.
That's literally all I know about Brazilian dance is samba.
Most people, most people know. You're a very good representation of most people, what most people know outside of Brazil. And even inside of Brazil, forró is, most people know what it is, but it's not as popular or as well known as samba, for example. But if you look at samba, you have rhythms who are influenced and have origins from Africa. And then you have harmonies and other elements in instruments, musical instruments coming from Europe. This in samba, in forró is the same. You have an instrument, accordion, which is an European instrument, But then you
Right.
have
Right.
rhythms who are highly syncopated and is a kind of beat that is not common to European music. European music tends to be a little bit more on the ground. A little bit, I would say, it's hard to use the term square, but it's a little bit more grounded here. If you take African rhythms or African Brazilian rhythms, you have a lot of syncopation like tak chika chiki tak chika chiki tak chika chiki tak, or samba tak 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 chika kat kat kadigu tak 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 chika kat kat kadigu dik kadigu dik, which is very like not so symmetric and gives this little different flavor. So we have this rhythm flavor coming, this influence from Africa, and the instrument, the harmony coming from Europe. And that's how it started.
I know that this is the beginnings of tango as well. Like when you read of how tango started, it's the same origin where you have the African rhythms combined with the harmonies of European music. And it continues to fascinate me how much music has evolved from these kinds of combinations. So that's very interesting.
And in different ways.
Mm-hmm,
Because
mm-hmm,
if we look what happened in samba is one thing, what happened in forró is a different thing, what happened in tango is a different thing. If we happen in salsa and other rhythms from Central America is a different thing. What happened in jazz and New Orleans and swing is a different thing. But they all came from the same origins of rhythms and a tradition from Africa, combined with harmony in instruments from Europe. The music was before the dance. So in the beginnings, the music was very much a peasant music. It was even in Brazil at the time, looked down a little bit.
Really?
Like, oh, this is the music from very simple people who doesn't have much culture, and through time it changed, but the origins were very simple. So like community gatherings, people playing and singing about how like the challenges of the time. The lyrics are talking about people who are moving from a rural area trying to get a better life in the cities. Talking about how it was dry the environment and how it was hard to harvest things. So this was the original themes of Forró, and the dances were a community dance, and it was very simple. It was just people like getting together and like shaking their body to the rhythm, and then stepping to one side and stepping to the other side, and then turning a little bit, stepping to one side. You know, it was a very simple dance without turns, without walks, without all the complexity that you would maybe see at the time in other styles, even in Brazil, and very different from what we dance today. So the forró that you see in events in the US, in Europe, or in Brazil that is danced today is very different from the forró people used to dance 50 years ago.
So I don't have a visual image of Forró in my mind. So if we could think about what does Forró look like, what would be the closest partner dance?
I usually say to people who have no idea what's Forró, especially outside of Brazil, I say, imagine tango, imagine salsa. They had an affair and the kid was raised in Brazil.
That's fantastic. I love that.
Because when we look tango, my impression and my understanding of tango is a dance that mostly dance together.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of body to body, a lot of embrace. And when you look to salsa, most of it is turns. And it's like, I'm doing my shines here, you're doing your shines there, and you're doing things together. Forró, we kind of merge the two things in a way that we dance part of the dance very much close together, and we even borrow some influences from tango, doing sacadas and other movements. But we also have moments in the dance that we open position, and then we do turns. But if you look at the way we dance close together is a little bit different than tango. And the way we dance in open position is not quite like salsa. And I used to say that, why I say raised in Brazil, because Brazilian people tend to be very warm and together and connected and very touchy and very cozy.
Right.
So if we compare even the way we do turns, they are a much softer way of doing the turns. It's a much loose way, and our embrace, please correct me if I'm wrong, I feel the tango, there is a lot of connection on top,
Mm-hmm.
and there's more room on the legs for all the movements. In Forró, there is a tendency for us to connect to the entire body.
Mm-hmm.
So we dance with our chest together, our heads together, our hips together, and our legs together.
So
So
I
there
would
is a
say, to me, it feels like it could be like blues dancing, but in Brazil style blues dancing.
that's a very good point. I don't know much about blues, but a few people made that comparison because of the proximity.
Yeah, because in blues, there's a lot of contact and it's very relaxed. The way I think of that form, the knees are soft and it's a bit more kind of that use of gravity to connect. Whereas with tango, the frame is a bit higher and it's a little bit off the ground or like levitating a bit more.
If you like this conversation and want to listen the full episode, the full conversation, it's available at Elizabeth's channel. I'm gonna put the link here in the description. I also selected another excerpt, very interesting topic to share with you here on the channel. You can just click over there. And if you want to learn more about our activities here in New York City, about online courses, learn with us and come dance with us, I invite you to visit forronewyork.com. I hope to see you very soon, either there, here on the link, or on the full episode here in the description of this video. Bye bye.